Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. Ich fange noch kurz auf Deutsch an. Arnold Ackerer, stellvertretender Wirtschaftsdelegierter hier in Tokio, Japan, in Ihrem Außenwirtschaftscenter, Ihrem Büro in Tokio und damit für ganz Japan. Wir machen heute wieder unseren jährlichen Rundblick zum Mobilitätsmarkt Japan und ich schwenke jetzt auf Englisch, nachdem wir auch einige Mitglieder der Niederlassungen österreichischer Firmen hier bei uns im Webinar haben. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to Japan Mobility Market 2025. I'm Arnold, the Deputy Head of Advantage Austria Tokyo, Außenwirtschaftscenter Tokio, Japan. Your office, the office for Austrian companies here in Japan. I'm very glad that we, despite the kind of short notice, have a lot of participants today, and we have two great speakers. First, we're gonna take a bit of a look into how far the electrification is going in Japan, and then later we'll have another speaker, Mr. Yamane, who is also talking a little bit about the mobility market in general. Mobility market is a big topic, of course. Japan, the biggest car makers in the world, Toyota and many others to follow. Mobility today is very much about cars and vehicles. At the same time, one of our colleagues is covering the mass trends in Makuhari. That's the big trade fair area here. There it's all about railroad, buses, mass trans, commute. And so you see Japan is very engaged in all these mobility sectors, last mile delivery, and so on and so on. Today, the topic on cars, vehicles, and similar last mile solutions. We will also, of course, look a bit at the background of the Japanese industry policy that we have. Japan, like many other nations, are facing the geopolitical struggle and has to come up with strategies to counter tariffs on the one side, to be a good location for factories on the other side, and to be competitive, particularly in for Japanese makers, very important back market here in Southeast Asia. The big consumer markets, Indonesia, Philippines, Thai, and so on, are increasingly under competition by Chinese makers. So we'll see and hear today a little bit about the strategy that Japanese car makers have from all pathway models, so really not fixing on one kind of model, not on EV, not on hydrogen only, but going all the way to keep their place here. We will take a little bit a look at the smaller car variation that are very popular in Japan, the so-called K Chidosha, the K cars. And all that and more details will be explained by the two great speakers that we have today, Iwamoto-san and Yamane-san. And before that, I'm happy to hand over to our Head of Technology, Rumi Onodera, who will lead you through today's webinar. Rumi, please.
Yes, hello, also from my side. Good morning to Austria and the rest of the world. Yes, some organization part. So this webinar will be recorded. We have a YouTube channel, the Advantage Austria YouTube channel, where we share this webinar afterwards. Also, this presentation of the two speakers will be shared with you with our follow-up email. And yes, you can also ask questions, of course. You have this chat area where you can ask the questions also during the webinar. And we will, in the last session, the third session, we have this Q&A session where you can, where we ask both speakers the questions. You can also, as we are not so many people, raise your hands and you can ask the questions directly to the speakers. I will then open your camera and the microphone as well. Yes, if there are some questions we cannot answer today or we have no time, we will collect those questions and then send you the emails afterwards with the answers. So let's start with our two keynotes. So we are very proud to have Mr. Iwamoto. Mr. Iwamoto has a very big experience. He was at this Sumitomo Corporation, and he has a lot of experience in automotive, and now is in part of a consulting group. So he has a very good overview of the whole topic. So I'm really looking forward to this. And as a second speaker, we have our automotive consultant from the Advantage Austria team. So he will also be the counterpart if you need something in Japan, Mr. Akio Yamane, and also a very experienced person in the automotive market. And yes, I'm very looking forward to the speech. So I first want to have Mr. Iwamoto, the stage is yours. You can share your presentation and open your mic, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now you can see my presentation.
Yes.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude for this valuable opportunity to speak with you today. I'd especially like to thank Mr. Arnold Akara, Deputy Head of Advantage Austria Tokyo, for his kind invitation and for making this event possible. It is truly an honor to be here and to share insights on vehicle electrification in Japan. So let's start. To begin, I'd like to introduce, I'd like to introduce what I call Japan's EV paradox. From a European perspective, Japan is often seen, or possibly seen, as an advanced country in terms of technology. Yet, when it comes to the adoption of battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid, BEVs and PHEVs, progress has been surprisingly slow. This is a paradox that can be difficult to understand from the outside. So questions often asked questions include the consumer perspectives and the government policies and the automakers' strategies. So through today's deep dive, I hope to provide some clarity on these points. In the following sections, I'll explore these topics in more detail, using data and real-world examples to shed light on Japan's unique situation. Agenda. I'd like to start with the quick review of Japan Mobility Show, which was held early this month, and moving to the global EV trends to compare to Japan's market, and then go deep dive into Japan's market. This is a whole presentation for today. So let's start the quick review of Japan Mobility Show 2025. At JMS, Japan Mobility Show, industry giants and nimble startups unveiled affordable EV models, closing long-standing gaps in the market. Suzuki and Daihatsu are well-known mini car manufacturer in Japan, but also Chinese giant BYD is now entering into Japan's market. Advanced style models from premium chauffeur minivans, family MPVs, to even commercial vehicles took center stage. The biggest news is Toyota Lexus 6-wheels van. LS was previously luxurious sedan, but now redefined to luxurious space, as they say. But other models were also on the stage. And from China, with EVs, not with love. So following automakers, Japan has long been a tough market, where success was quite limited to premium European brands. But now Chinese and Korean brands are making an aggressive push, and other Chinese EV makers reportedly plan to enter. The BYD had a passenger car booth and also the commercial vehicle booth. And Hyundai is a re-entry to Japan market. They retreated before. And Kia is surprisingly, a new face in Japan. Enter the coda. Challenging new entrants that leverage technologies from other industries, such as software engineering, are on the rise. Sharp is well-known home appliances company, together with Foxconn, famous for the iPhone manufacturing in Taiwan, exhibited their concept EV model. And SCSK is the system integrator in Japan, also had a concept EV on the stage. And previously, Sony and LG's show their concept model at CES. And Chinese Apple, Xiaomi, in China, they succeeded mass production already, and that model is now blockbuster in China. And hydrogen. Development of hydrogen-powered vehicles continues, spanning heavy-duty trucks, buses, to key components. So not only the fuel cell, but hydrogen engine, truck, bus, and SUVs, of course, include the BMW, and hydrogen engine bikes and concept models were exhibited. And then moving to the latest EV trends globally. Europe charging ahead, the US hitting the brakes under the new administration, and China accelerating. Yet Japan still awaits its BEV tipping point. So the figures 2019 and 2024 before COVID and after COVID normalized is the actual figures, and 2030 and 2035 are forecasted by us. And I'll come back to Japan market later. Left side graph is top 5 purchase criteria for EV in Europe, US, and China. Driving range is mostly concerned in all areas, but price is no longer a major issue in China. It is because, as right graph shows, in China, battery EV and PHEV, plug-in hybrid EV, is now more or less at the same price level against ICEV, internal combustion engine vehicles. So the message is to solve the price issue first. Interestingly, Chinese consumers' focus has shifted toward digital experiences, embracing the world of software-defined vehicles after the price issue solved. And now, affordable BEVs finally arrived in Europe at IAA this year, September. Affordable EVs have finally joined the mainstream lineup, accelerating EV adoption beyond early adopters. So Volkswagen ID Everyone, ID Polo is around 20,000 euro, which is very affordable models in the segment. And Europe is, of course, centered in the zero emission 100% target, 100% zero emission target discussion. But regions targeting for 100% zero emission adoption, zero emission vehicle adoption, are now reassessing strategies to pursue a more pragmatic path forward. Beyond the US deregulation, Europe is also, as far as I understand, exploring options like carbon neutral fuels and more flexible enforcement frameworks. And then coming to Japan. Japan's passenger car market is around 4 million units annually, new vehicle registrations. The size is between Germany and UK plus France. In terms of powertrain mix, hybrids are dominant, whereas battery EV and PHEV remain a very small share. So the left side shows the absolute number of new vehicle registrations, and right side is the mix of the powertrain. And as you can see, battery EV is less than 2% last year, compared to around 14% in Europe. It's surprisingly low. But I would say it has structural reasons because of Japanese market. In Japan, many cars, uniquely called K cars, even smaller than Europe's A segment, and compact cars, roughly spanning from large A segment to the smallest C segment, collectively dominate the market. So left side is the same graph, but by the segment, absolute figures, and right side is the ratio of the segment mix. And as you can see, the K car is over 30% compared to European market. It's surprisingly small car market in Japan. So together with the small cars, compact cars, it's around 50% or over 50% is under mid C segment, I would say. So as the market is dominated by smaller cars, consumers naturally have more strict price expectations than other countries. While price is cited as a key criterion by 50% of respondents in Europe and the US, as the previous slide showed, multiple surveys done in Japan showed that over 60% of consumers say they cannot choose BEVs, primarily because of the price. But until now, EV options in these segments were quite limited and often still expensive. But today, affordable EV lineups are finally introduced, and this shift could serve as a catalyst to accelerate Japan's long stagnant EV adoption. Nissan and Mitsubishi 3 years ago launched the KEV, and Honda joined this September. And next year, reportedly, BYD and Suzuki are entering. And BYD, of course, has made in China vehicle to be imported into Japan, is expected to have lower pricing. And Suzuki is a dedicated smaller car manufacturer in Japan, is also expected to have a lower price than the passenger vehicle manufacturer like Mitsubishi, Nissan, Honda. Talking about the target and the policies. In October 2020, Japan committed to carbon neutrality or net zero by 2050 and launched the green growth strategy. And automotive sector is one of the prioritized areas, and they have set the various measures and policy packages. In green growth strategy, electrification target is 100% by 2035. But in Japan's definition, electrified vehicle includes the hybrid, as it has a motors and batteries on it. And also the charging infrastructure is stressed here. In the strategy 2020, was 150,000 charging stations were targeted. But after 2-3 years, charging station target was doubled to 300,000 by 2030. And to materialize that target, the government prepared several measures and packages. In Japan, vehicle electrification targets are indicative rather than mandatory, with no penalties for non-compliance. Instead, the policy framework relies on fuel efficiency standards and subsidies and tax reductions as key incentives. Fuel efficiency standards, CAFE standard, have been tightened, but still achievable mix, I would say, with PHEVs. Meanwhile, the incentives are rich. Policy measures are centered on tax deductions and subsidies, minimizing resistance from the industry. So, for example, talking about the BEV, it's up to 850,000 Japanese yen, which is roughly equivalent to 5,000 euros. And the tax exemption reduction is also prepared. And this, coming back to the subsidy, this is only from the government. And for example, in Tokyo Metropolitan Authority can add more subsidies on it. And each ward, depending on where you live, but each ward have another packages on it. So incentive-wise, it's quite rich. It is interesting to note that this style, this indicative style, actually works in Japan. For example, even during the COVID pandemic, countries with even liberal traditions introduced curfews with penalties. But in Japan, all policies were essentially based on requests, government requests, rather than mandates. Of course, economic losses were compensated with subsidy packages later. Nevertheless, Japan succeeded in significantly reducing people's outings and economic activity at that time, demonstrating the effectiveness of this approach. And charging infrastructure. The Japanese government has finally recognized that EV adoption and charging infrastructure must progress together. As I said, new guideline doubled the previous target. But even with last year's big jump, mainly from the destination chargers, Japan's EV charging station status is behind Europe or China. So right side graph shows the EV per charging station. So meaning how many EVs are rushing to one charging station. Shorter bar is better. And compared to Europe and China, Japan needs more expansion, more chargers. And kilowatt per EVs are shown in orange dot. The rapid charger will come right side. So meaning Japan needs more high power or rapid chargers. And at last of this section, I'd like to touch upon the circular economy topic. Recycling and reverse logistics are gaining attention in Japan, and national effort towards circular economy has begun. Inspired Catenax in Europe initiative, Uranos data platform is being developed to track CO2 footprint and other metrics. By the way, Catenax is automotive sector focused data platform and is one of the Gaia X initiative, Pan-Europe data sharing platform. And Gaia is the earth goddess in Greek mythology. So Uranos is obviously named after that role, father of the sky in Greek mythology. It was quite impressed to see the Japanese bureaucrat's sense of it. However, I can't help but think it would have been even better if they had chosen a name from Japanese mythology instead. Well, going back on track, I'd like to move on industry strategy. Japanese automakers' phased approach to vehicle electrification assumes real impact only comes with mass adoption. Hybrid first approach has also real merit. So UIO-based CO2 reduction over the past 20 years has outpaced. But to be fair, battery EV spike is happening in these few years after 2020. So the figures and ranking may be different now. For example, a country like Norway, where 90% of new car sales are already EVs, and its electricity is clean and green, 90% comes from hydropower, may be achieving even better results than Japan. Then why Japan is sticking to hybrid? Japanese automakers are often portrayed as hesitant towards battery EV, BEVs, due to innovators' dilemma, success with hybrid. While that view holds some truth, the legacy of early struggles with EVs have also influenced their current approach. Comparing two contrasting manufacturers that entered the EV market in the very early stage, around 2010, can be quite revealing. Tesla, following Elon Musk's master plan, started in the luxury segment, targeting customers who could afford to try out new and still developing technologies, and then gradually moved towards mass market vehicles. In contrast, Nissan jumped into the mass market from the outset, which meant their EVs were directly compared to gasoline cars in terms of usability and convenience, making things much more challenging. In hindsight, it may be unfair to judge these strategies by today's result, but it's clear that Tesla's approach proved more successful. As you know, most new EV startups now tend to follow the Tesla playbook. Now that we've discussed Nissan's strategy, I'd like to briefly highlight the current situation regarding EVs at three major Japanese automakers. Toyota, driving the orthodox route. Even in the 2020s EV boom, Toyota stayed calm and kept a multi-pathway approach, ultimately validated. Only a few can afford to pursue this old direction strategy. And Toyota stands out, launching models across all powertrains. By the way, the illustration of the multi-pathway approach is updated from time to time. Recently, hydrogen engine, H2 on this illustration, and also the CN fuel, carbon neutral fuel, or e-fuel, are added. Honda is rerouting the EV course. In 2021, Honda set 100% ZEV target by 2040. But with market lagging, revised its battery EV development and launch schedule. In the first half of this year, a huge one-time EV expense was recorded. It exceeds US tariff impact. And Nissan, once an EV pioneer, Nissan lost share in China due to delayed EV launches, posting huge net loss last year. So under the Nissan restructuring plan, they're repowering from crisis and bets on new models for a turnaround. So in Europe, there's a Micra, which is provided by Renault 5 E-Tech. And in China, dedicated model N7, co-developed with Dongfeng, is now going to be exported to the other countries as well. Leaf, legendary EV models, has come and see the third generation. I'd like to emphasize that despite the various challenges each company faces, Japanese automakers are all actively engaged in EV-related research and development. One of the most prominent examples is the pursuit of all solid-state batteries, often referred to as the dream battery. All solid-state battery use solid materials instead of liquid electrolytes, offering the potential for ultimate safety and energy density compared to conventional batteries. The left shows patent filings by jurisdiction and by nationality. Japan is the top runner with international filings. Chinese also files huge patent, but mostly only in China. The right shows applicant status. Not only Toyota, Honda, Nissan, but also other Japanese suppliers are also in the race and quite doing well. The other interesting topic is cow poop. It is not an activity in Japan, but Japanese automaker Suzuki's activity in India. They are making the biogas from cow dung, and of course also making the vehicles to use it. I picked up this topic not in the electrification context, but as an example of very localized circular economy powered by Japanese automaker. At last, we'll come to the final summary page. As a pillar of Japan's economy, the automotive industry is now expected to address social challenges at home and abroad. For example, in Japan's aging society, lack of drivers in logistics or lack of mobility for seniors are to be addressed by autonomous or mobility as a service, where European tech vendors are actively collaborating with Japanese companies already. To carbon neutrality or net zero target, although BEV to be centered, automotive sector take multi-pathway approach. Europe's advanced research and development in e-fuel, for example, will be highly appreciated. Smooth and safe data sharing platforms are now connected between Europe and Japan to realize data traceability, data privacy, and data sovereignty. To conclude, collaboration between Japan and Europe, sharing values such as environmental protection and freedom, is becoming more important. And this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Iwamoto-san. This was a very, very good overview from yes. So we will have the Q&A session in the last part of our webinar. So please stay with us, and we will see you again in the end. Thank you very much. So our next speaker is Mr. Yamane. You can share already your presentation and start. So.
Yep. Please wait. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me start. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Akio Yamane from Advantage Austria Tokyo. Let me briefly introduce my role. At Advantage Austria Tokyo, I am responsible for the automotive and mobility sectors, supporting Austrian companies in exploring and expanding their business in the Japanese market. If you have any questions, ideas, or interest in collaboration, please feel free to contact me at any time. I would be very happy to support your activities here in Japan. Today, I will give a brief overview of energy transition and mobility in Japan and Europe. I hope this webinar provides you with a useful perspective on those markets. In this section, I will discuss the energy and policy environment that is driving Japan's mobility transformation. Here is today's agenda. First, we'll examine why mobility and energy transitions are inseparable. Next, we'll examine the challenges and the policy dilemmas that Japan faces. Then I'll highlight Europe's experience in integrating renewables and transportation. After that, we'll explore how Japan and Europe can work together in sustainable mobility systems. Finally, we'll discuss the outlook for building a resilient carbon-neutral ecosystems for mobility and energy. Let's see the agenda, number 1. The electrification of transport cannot be discussed separately from the transformation of our energy systems. EVs are not just vehicles, they are mobile energy devices connected to a smart grid. In fact, Japan and Europe are taking different paths toward zero-emission mobility. Europe is quickly decarbonizing through renewable energy. Japan's transition is more gradual, taking a balanced approach to carbon reduction and energy security. Both paths make sense within their own conditions. Understanding these differences is key to effective cooperation. This chart shows Japan's energy outlook for 2040. Japan's latest energy plan projects renewables to gradually increase to around 40 to 50% of total power generation by 2040, while nuclear remains near 20% and the fossil fuels decline to about 1/3. This reflects a steady, step-by-step approach to the country's energy transition. Let's see Japan's mobility energy transition. Japan's energy transition faces real structural limits. Renewables now provide about 1/4 of total power, but regional grids are weakly connected and the storage is still developing. Nuclear restarts remain politically sensitive, yet essential for stable supply. These realities strongly shape Japan's overall energy policy. Japan favors stability and reliability over rapid change. Its transition is designed to take place step by step, rather than in a sudden, drastic way. This philosophy also defines its mobility policy, which takes a multi-pathway approach. Hybrids currently dominate, while EVs and PHEVs are advancing gradually with government and local support. At the same time, Japan continues to promote FCVs, fuel cell vehicles, as part of its hydrogen roadmap. In short, Japan seeks balance rather than speed. According to Japan's governmental roadmap, all new passenger cars will be electrified by the mid-2030s, including EVs, PHEVs, and FCVs. In contrast, the EU aims for nearly 100% zero-emission new cars by 2035, with several countries targeting 60 to 70% by 2030. Japan's slower pace reflects its focus on energy security and grid readiness, while Europe advances faster through renewable integration and strict regulation. For Austrian and European companies, this opens real opportunities to help Japan accelerate toward its 2030 to 2035 targets, while keeping pace with Europe's own transition and supply chain growth. Agenda 3, Europe's experience. Europe has taken a more systemic approach to decarbonizing transport. A unified electricity market allows renewables to flow efficiently across borders, linking generation and consumption. Smart grids and the vehicle-to-grid or V2G systems make EVs part of the power system itself, not only moving people, but also storing energy and balancing demand. In Europe, mobility and energy are seen as two sides of the same transition. Australia is a leading example of this integration. About 80 to 90% of its electricity already comes from renewables, mainly hydropower. It also leads in smart grid development and local energy community projects, where residents produce and share renewable power. In addition, Australia's strong circular economy and recycling systems support sustainable mobility, creating a closed-loop model that Japan can learn from. Let's go into the agenda for opportunities for Japan. Japan and Europe can work together through bridging technologies such as e-fuels, hydrogen, and ammonia. These are not meant to prolong the life of combustion engines, but to connect today's technology with tomorrow's clean energy. They play a crucial role in achieving carbon neutral mobility, especially in sectors like heavy transport, aviation, and shipping, where electrification is harder. By linking Europe's renewable energy supply with Japan's advanced combustion and fuel cell expertise, we can build truly transitional yet forward-looking solutions. Another key area is circular and smart mobility systems. Europe's experience in battery recycling and rare metal recovery complements Japan's strengths in precision materials and engineering. At the same time, smart charging and V2X, vehicle-to-everything technologies can merge Japan's disaster resilience focus with Europe's decentralized power management know-how. Together, these efforts can create more sustainable and adaptive energy mobility networks on both sides. Finally, joint research and pilot projects can serve as powerful platforms for collaboration. Smart cities, airports, and seaports are ideal test beds where mobility and energy systems converge. Here, Australian companies already play an active role in renewable integration, power electronics, and sustainability data management. Such initiatives can turn Japan-Europe partnership into real-world laboratories for carbon-neutral transport and infrastructure innovation. We are discussing the outlook in the final section. Electrification is not just about replacing engines with batteries. It represents a complete transformation of our social and energy infrastructure. We are moving toward a resilient, circular, and a data-driven ecosystem where vehicles, power systems, and communities are all interconnected. This is the next stage of mobility, where technology serves both people and the planet. Japan and Europe already share strong foundations for cooperation. We can expand these foundations through four practical collaboration platforms. 1. E-fuels, hydrogen and ammonia. 2. Battery recycling and rare metal recovery. 3. Smart charging and V2X integration. And 4. Joint R&D and pilot projects. These are not abstract ideas. They are practical entry points for collaboration, where Australian and European firms can play an active role. As a conclusion, we would like to share the vision for a truly carbon-neutral future. To make this vision real, we must do the following: leverage Europe's innovation and Japan's reliability, build regional platforms linking policy, technology, and business, engage Austrian companies as key partners in renewable integration and smart mobility solutions. By combining our strengths, we can turn the connection between energy and mobility into a shared engine of sustainable growth for both regions. This is all what I want to say. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Yamane-san. Yes, so we heard a lot about the fuel cell and hydrogen. We are planning to do a joint booth, österreichische Gruppenstand, for the FC and Hydrogen Expo in March. As you know, many of you may joined some trade shows already. We need a minimum numbers of participants to make it possible. So if you're interested to be one company at our joint booth at the FC Expo, please send me an email, and yeah, I would be very happy if you can make it true. Especially Japan is truly a trade fair nation, so there are many specified trade shows. If you don't know what kind of exhibition would be suitable for you, this is also a good timing to ask us. So we can find the right exhibition. So they're really specialized, like a welding exhibition, or you have a auto aftermarket shows. So many specified trade shows where we can search for the right one for you as well. So the Japanese companies are really going to the trade shows to inform them to find suppliers. So this is a good opportunity to do so. Yes, so we will go now to the Q&A part of our webinar. Do you have any questions? If you raise your hand, you can also ask the question directly to the speakers, or you can also ask directly in the chat. So I'm just wondering if somebody is joining for a question or some input. I don't see any arms and questions, but I have here one, sorry. Okay, so I have a question to Iwamoto-san. So as of today, so asking if you have an EV or a fuel cell car or a normal gasoline car, which one would be the cheapest to to go to the gasoline stand, and so which car would be the cheapest in Japan to have for the same range?
Thank you very much for your question. Today's gasoline price spike, I would say it's EVs, including the cost of maintenance, much cheaper or less than gasoline cars. But talking about the hydrogen, it's subsidized by the government, and the hydrogen price level is more or less the same to run the same distance again when it compared to the gasoline vehicles.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just checking if we have some more questions. So this is the chance for everybody. Of course, you can send also emails with questions, but you can also share your opinion. Maybe you have different opinion to our speakers. You can also share this with us. Okay, I have one here. One moment. Oh, okay, no, this was okay. Kasahara-san, yes, I will give you the microphone and the camera. So you can share your camera and your microphone now. Unmute yourself. Yes, now you can ask your question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yamane-san and Hiromasa-san. Yeah, all of them are quite interested. And I learned about battery market trends and how the progress for 2035 will slow globally, especially in Japan. And autonomous driving level 4 and above level 5, something like that, requires Ethernet, a very, very high speed combination. And I think there will be a lot of noise inside the car if it's not battery EV. So I think this autonomous driving will accelerate in future. But do you think that the impact of battery EV will slow down autonomous driving?
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. As you pointed out, the autonomous driving or even the software-defined vehicles are quite good, works quite good with the EVs, as you pointed out. From the viewpoint of EMP in the cars, so EV or autonomous and SDVs ultimately must be coming with EVs. But at this moment, level 4 is a good target, but automakers are developing their technology at the level 2++, which is not coming, which is the responsibility at the accident is not coming to the automakers. Above level 3, it's automakers' responsibility. And the level 2++ ADAS advanced driving assistance system is now combined with the gasoline vehicles as well. And yeah, for the time being, I forecast that the development of that technology, including autonomous driving, is with the ICEVs, and at the end of the day, it must come with EVs. But EVs penetration ratio, a slow penetration ratio, will not that big negative impact to the autonomous driving technology development, I assume. Am I answering to your question?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for your comment, because I'm quite sure it's quite difficult question. And I think this is unrelated to this topic today, but I'm very interested in how it works with autonomous driving with the battery way.
Yeah, yeah, autonomous driving needs the quite big capacity of calculation, I mean ECU power, and also the electricity. So at the end of the day, EV is ideal for autonomous driving, as you pointed out. Yeah.
Okay,
but for the time
very
being, it can be equipped with the gasoline vehicle somehow. That's that's my observation.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Hiromasa-san.
Okay, we have another question. From Mr. Gegenhuber, so is the development of the EVs done in Japan, or is it all or a lot offshore? Also, are the EV manufactured in Japan? Maybe Iwamoto-san? Yeah.
Yes, manufactured in Japan. Yes. depends on the definition of development, but research and development are, of course, done in Japan's headquarters or research institute. But some OEMs separate Japan or global, including Europe's EV models, from Chinese EV models. So China EV is a bit unique situation. So Chinese EV development is done by Chinese engineers in China. That's happening in some automakers. Yeah, and to add some information, from the perspective for the cheap, affordable EVs, some OEMs, automakers started to produce their developed EV manufactured in India. That's the announcement from Honda, this JMS. Their dedicated EV series 0 Alpha model is now manufactured in India. I assume it's not developed in India, but in Japan, but they decided to make it in India. But most of the automakers and most models are to be developed and also to be made in Japan. So am I answering to your questions, and hope it suits your expectation.
Thank you very much. Yes, so we have time for a final question, but I don't see any raising hands or questions in the chat. So I will say we will finish our webinar here. Yamane-san, can you go? There's okay.
Yes.
One more. In Europe, I know several tier 1 and 2 automotive companies like Continental, Magna, and so on. How is this in Japan?
Continental and Bosch and other Europe's tier 1s are having a quite big presence in Japan as well. Japanese tier 1s, for example, Denso or Aishin or Astemo, are also doing very well, but Valeo and the other European tier 1s are quite famous and equipped with many Japanese automakers models. As far as I remember, Magna produced some specialty model for, I think, Toyota as well.
Yes, and our very well sold Benz, the G-Class Benz, which is in Japan quite popular. So we see a lot of those cars in Japan. Yeah, so, but I think the question was if those companies like the tier 1s are also producing cars like Magna as a final car.
So yeah, it's a hot topic. Maybe we Japanese need some mid-size manufacturer like tier 0.5, like Magna Steyr. So, but in Japan, it's not. There's not that kind of manufacturer. The discussion is coming from the autonomous context. The autonomous vehicle or robotaxi is not coming to 100,000 units per year, maybe 5,000-ish, or that kind of mid-sized mass production. And in Japan, the automakers are too big and startups are too small. And we have that Magna kind of Steyrs like manufacturers are needed. But at this moment, there's no such players.
Okay, I think this was our final question. So let us, just inform you if you want to be connected to Japanese companies. We will try our best. We have our network, a lot of experience connecting Austrian companies with Japanese companies. So please write us an email. We had it before. I put it in the chat again. So it's either Tokyo WKO at WKO.at or Tokyo Advantage Austria. So when you send us an email with this request, please send us also some company or product information and then which part you want to be connected to the companies. And Akio-san mainly will try to connect you with those companies. This is our service for the Austrian companies, so please use it. So, so this will be the end of our webinar, so really on time, and thank you very much for the audience for asking those questions and be part of this webinar. And Iwamoto-san, Yamane-san, thank you very much for your inputs, and hope you see you soon in Japan, either at one of our trade shows or you come to as a business trip where we connect you with our Japanese companies. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.